Hi everyone, welcome back to the weekly study. I'm glad that you're joining us today for some study and for some reflection. We are continuing with our study of Genesis. We are in Genesis chapter 28, verse 10. Now officially begins the focus of the story on Jacob. For a reminder of what we've been studying in the past, remember Jacob and Esau, children of Isaac and Rebekah, the fighting, the brotherly rivalry, Jacob stealing the birthright, the blessings, and now he's on the run. Remember, that's how we finished up chapter 27 and the beginning of chapter 28 with Rebekah and then Isaac telling Jacob that he needs to leave home. He needs to leave home because Esau, his brother, is mad and angry that Jacob has taken the birthright, which Esau believes is his, and thinks that he will probably kill him, so he needs to run away. But he also needs to go away because he needs to find a wife. And so now begins Jacob's journey and his beginning of the focus on him as the kind of the next patriarch, the next person who's going to take on the covenant, right? We've studied Abraham, we've now gone through Isaac, and now the story is going to settle on Jacob. The next number of chapters that we're going to study and focus on Jacob is going to be, I think, fairly fascinating and really a moving and a beautiful story. Jacob is now leaving home for the first time. He's around the age of 70. Again, biblical times and how long you live is always a little bit different than our current days, but imagine he's at the age of 77. We learn a lot about Jacob and his story personally. We're going to encounter in this first story about a dream that Jacob has. We're later going to learn about loves of his, relationships to other people, his relationship to God. Jacob's name will eventually become Israel, right? He is going to be the beginning of the kind of the Israelite people. There was Abraham and there was Isaac, and then there's Jacob, and after Jacob, the 12 tribes. So it's interesting to think of Jacob in relation to each of us. Jacob is not Abraham, he's not the founder, and Jacob is not Isaac, he's not the successor, he is the third generation. And in that way, that kind of makes him kind of everyday and normal. And I would say that is what the connection is to each of us. Each of us as just being regular human beings that are not founders, that are not successors, but are just going at it every day, knowing that we each exist with many, many generations behind us and probably many, hopefully, generations after us as well. So stay tuned with us as we look through this first chunk of Jacob's story, beginning with verse 10 of chapter 28. Jacob left Be'er Sheva and set out for Haran. He came upon a certain place and stopped there for the night, for the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of that place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place. He had a dream. A stairway was set on the ground, and its top reached to the sky, and angels of God were going up and down on it. And the Lord was standing beside him, and he said, I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. The ground on which you are lying I will assign to you and to your offspring. Your descendants shall be as the dust of the earth. You shall spread out to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. All the families of the earth shall bless themselves by you and your descendants. Remember, I am with you. I will protect you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, Surely the Lord is present in this place, and I did not know it. Shaken, he said, How awesome is this place! This is none other than the abode of God, and that is the gateway to heaven. Jacob then made a vow, saying, If God remains with me, if he protects me on this journey that I am making, and gives me bread to eat and clothing to wear, and if I return safe to my father's house, the Lord shall be my God. Jacob begins and starts out on his journey. This is the first time, as we said, or no, we haven't said, but this is the first time that he leaves home. Jacob, in some ways, is a homebody. even at the age of what we said, close to 77 years old. He hasn't left home yet. He hasn't married. And this is through kind of the necessity, the needs of the moment. He sets out from home. So we can imagine Jacob's emotional state. Perhaps a little afraid, worried, concerned. He's on his own. His parents are back at home. So is Esau. And now he's on his own, trying to fend for himself, trying to figure out what are the next steps. How does he find a wife? How does he continue living in the covenant with God? So with all that in the background, this is this first story that we enter. Jacob is on his way, he's journeying, and he stops for the night. The sun has set. Nighttime, a time of fear, a time of worry, a time of darkness. And so he sets up a stone under his head, and he lays down. And what happens? But Jacob has a dream. The dream, it's a stairway, a ladder that's on the ground, its top reaching the sky, and angels of God are going up and down on it. What do we make of this image of the dream? What does it mean that there's a ladder here present in this dream? Dreams are there for interpretation. All of us have dreams. All of us dream dreams. And so what do we make of this dream? What do you make of this dream? We'll talk about it in a little bit, but I just wanted to pose that question for a moment. What does this ladder symbolize? What is it? What is the importance of it being on the ground and its top reaching the sky and the heavens? What does it mean that angels of God are going up and down on it? And then in the dream, the Lord is standing beside Jacob, and God says, God introduces himself as the God of Abraham and of Isaac, and promises him, kind of, you are in the continuation of this covenant. You know, the ground that you are lying on, I am going to give to you. And your descendants are going to be so numerous, like the dust of the earth. And you're going to spread out all over this place. And all the folks will want to bless them through you. And God says, I'm going to protect you wherever you go and bring you back to this land. I'm not going to leave you. This is the dream that Jacob needs. Jacob's worried, afraid. He's alone, on the run. Not sure what his relationship is to his family. Not sure what his relationship is to God. And here in this moment, he dreams what is probably the perfect dream for him, that God is with him. It's really interesting. The Hebrew translation, or the translation in the English of the Hebrew, and the Lord was standing beside him. The Hebrew could either mean that it's God is standing beside Jacob or over him. Is God present? Is God, as they would call in kind of philosophical language, is God immanent, totally present in this moment, or is God transcendent? Is God above us? Is God standing beside, or is God above? That's for us to understand. What are, different moments of relationship with God in which God is close to us in an immanent, close sense? Or are there moments that we feel the transcendence of God? But this is the dream that Jacob needs, that God is with him. Whether beside him or above him or beyond him, God is there. And while he may be afraid, God is reminding him that there is this connection. While he is on the ground, God, even though God may be above, there is a connection. God is present. While God may be above, God may also be present with you right now. God promises Jacob, assures him of his covenantal place. Jacob will eventually return home. God says, I remember you, I'll protect you, and I will bring you back. I will not leave you. What a wonderful, comforting promise to receive. Jacob then awakes from his sleep and says, I didn't know that God was in this place. Surely the Lord is present in this place, and I did not know it. He continues, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the abode of God. It's the gateway to heaven. How often in our lives, when we are worried or afraid or unsure, do we all of a sudden have a moment where we realize, God is present in this place, and I did not know it. How often do we, each of us, might not think about God's presence being here with us in each moment? And this is Jacob really embodying all of us, realizing that God is here, God is present in all of these moments, whether we're aware of it or not. But Jacob has this moment of awareness. And every place can then be a gateway towards heaven. Every moment, every place can be a portal for the divine. It's interesting that our translation that we use here says shaken, but you can also understand it from the original Hebrew, that there's a sense of awe, a sense of wonder. And perhaps that's what helps bridge that gap, so to speak. That's what builds the ladder between not knowing that God is present and feeling or believing that God is present. When you have awe of the world, of your surroundings, of the people that you interact with, then you can bridge that gap between a sense of God being absent and to God being present. And then finally, we were looking here at the last verses of the chapter, that Jacob makes a vow. What do you make of that vow? If God remains with me, if God protects me, gives me bread to eat, clothing to wear, and if I return back home, then Lord shall be my God. You can read it in many different ways. If you want to be of the camp that Jacob is, a very pious person with no flaws, this is just simply him being kind of reiterating the promises that God has made him already, and just assuring God that God will continue to be his God. If you're more skeptical, it seems like, this is kind of transactional. If all this happens, then you're going to be my God, but if it doesn't, then you're not. I think we can see here is Jacob's development. He's beginning to enter into a relationship with God. He's unsure. Even though God has appeared to him in a dream, he's still thinking about it. He's still wondering. And so we're going to continue with that wondering, with that thinking, as we go into chapter 29. So I hope you've enjoyed our study today. I think this story, like all of the stories in Genesis, provide us rich material on one level just to study, but on another level for us to reflect for each of us individually. Each of us individually embodying the character of Jacob, our relationship to God, our relationship to our family, and our hopes of carrying out the future. Okay, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon.